Hi Moz fans, I'm Ola King. I work at Moz and I'm excited to join you today for this edition of Whiteboard Friday. I will be talking to you about the three bosses of SEO. Creating high quality content, making sure that you have a solid link building strategy, making sure your site is technically sound. These are great things to do when it comes to SEO. However, none of them would be as effective if you're not taking a look at things from a strategic, wider lens. Basically, it means you have to take a step back and look at what you're doing and why you're doing them in order for you to get the results that you need. So for SEO, there are three main pillars really to consider. I call them the three bosses of SEO. So that's really your business, your searchers, and your search engines. And each of these bosses have their own individual needs. So let's start with the business. So these are the needs of the business. This is by no means a comprehensive list. I'm sure there are things that I'm missing. So if there are things that that you think should be here, please leave a comment and we can have a discussion on that so we can all learn from each other. But the whole idea of this is to get you thinking about things from a broader lens before you dive into tactics. So the first one is the key metrics and goals. Any activity that is done without a goal is essentially a hobby, which is fine. However, if you want to do serious SEO work, you need to have a goal. And in order to know what your goals are, I guess you have to look at your business goals, then that determines your marketing goals, which then determines your SEO goals. So understand what your KPIs are, understand what your priorities are, and then that would then let you know what your next steps are. So for example, if your goal is to get more traffic, you need to focus more on the top of funnel types of content. So like an ultimate guide, for example. If your goal is to get more leads, you might start looking at maybe your product comparison pages. And then if your goal is to have more sales, then it might be time to start optimizing your product pages, for example. So always look at your key metrics and goals and then work from there. So the competitors is also something you should really consider. A lot of people are very familiar with who their direct competitors are in terms of product or services. But when it comes to SEO, there is also the informational competitors. So people that might not be doing the same thing as you, but they provide information to your ideal audience. So always keep an eye on those competitors as well. The resources, so look at the resources that you have in terms of time, budget, and personnel. If you don't have the time for SEO, you might be able to consider outsourcing it. Or if you don't have the right talent for link building, maybe you might want to partner up with an agency that does that. So always take a stock at your resources before you start thinking of what you should do. Your brand identity and recognition also determines the types of contents that you go after. It doesn't matter if a content has a lot of volume and it's trendy. If it doesn't align with your brand in the long run, it's not really a very good use of your time. The area of expertise as well is very much related to this. So what are you an expert at? Try to lean on your expertise, and if you don't have enough expertise but you want to provide an information to your audience, maybe you might want to collaborate with other people that are better suited to that so that you can still complete your goal for your business and audience. Strengths is very related to expertise, but this is in terms of your what talents, what skills do you have? Are you better at doing research and or are you creating long form content, or are you better at creating things that go viral and are more like listicles? Lean into your strengths and collaborate as needed with people that can help you with your weakness. The timing business also determines the approach you take for SEO. A brand new website, what it would need would be completely different from a business that has been around for a long time, that has a great website, but they're just trying to do a refresh, which is also different from a business that has been around for a very long time, but don't have very good online presence. All of this would affect the way you approach content, link building, and trying to rank for those tough content. So that's your business. As I mentioned, I'm sure there are things I'm missing. So I'm very curious to know the other things that you might come up with as well. So next up, let's look at the searchers. So these are the people that you are serving as a business. And the first thing when it comes to the searchers is look at your persona. So what are the type of people that you're trying to attract into to your website? there's no point creating any piece of content if you don't even know who you're trying to attract with that content. So start with the persona, and once you've identified the persona, you can then start looking at the search intent and relevance. So what are they looking for? The good news is the answer is already right on your search engine results pages. Do a quick search for your ideal keyword, and you'll be able to see the results that the search engines have deemed as the most appropriate for what your audience are looking for, which matches their search intent. And once you've done that, then you might want to create the right content to satisfy that searcher's intent. And when you're creating the content, focus on topics and not keywords. So gone are the days where you just want to create your page and stuff it with as many keywords as you can and start ranking and print out dollars. Not so effective anymore. You basically want to look at each page on your site covering a topic. That's to have a focus. And on while you're doing that, then you want to make sure that you have the most comprehensive page that answers that searcher's intent. And Cyrus Shepard actually has a great Whiteboard Friday on this, where he talked about you want to be the first click, the long click, and the last click. So be the most comprehensive page that satisfies the searcher's intent based on topic, not keywords. So when you're creating your content or you're trying to devise your content strategy, always look at the emotion, psychology, social, and economic factors that are affecting your audience. It's easy to look at data and on your site's traffic and obsess about what could have gone wrong in terms of your competitors or other factors. Or you might also want to take a step back and look at what's happening in the lives of your audience. Like, what are they struggling with right now? So in the past 18 months or so, I mean, every one of us have been we've been experiencing the pandemic. So that has changed the way people search for things. Searches for keywords like the remote, things like delivery, those searches have gone up over the past few months, and that's based on all of the emotions that people, the social factors that are affecting people. It means they can no longer do things that they're able to do before, so now they're having to adjust in different ways. So always look at what's happening to your audience and then react accordingly. The brand affinity and trust also affects the way people interact with your site. If people are familiar with a brand, they are more likely to trust them and interact with them more. So if you're a newer website or brand, it might be a good idea to let the content speak for itself and not try to make your brand the front and center of attention. Whereas for a bigger brand, it might be a good idea to do the opposite. So a site like Amazon would do good to have their brand name in the title tag, for example, because people know their brand and they can trust them and click on the site. Whereas a brand new website, it might be a good idea to not necessarily make that the focus of attention. So other things to look at is trends and seasonality. As you're looking at your SEO data, if you notice a dip, you might not be doing anything wrong. It could just mean that it's the nature of the time of the year. So I'm sure certain keywords would trend upward around the holiday season, for example, for things like electronics, video games, etc. And then towards like February, March, maybe those searches might reduce. And it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, it's just the seasonality. So the search behavior as well. People's behavior change over time. Humans are not robots. They are very dynamic. Things change, things that they search for, as I mentioned before. When their emotions and emotional, psychological, social, political factors are affected, it also changes how they search for things as well. So always try to react to that when you know, or pay attention to what people are doing, try to understand what's changing in their search behavior and react to that accordingly. The customer journey is very important. Always understand the touch points that your customers have with your business. Even outside of your business, look at their journey before they get to your business. This allows you to know the types of content you need to create to fill in the gap in that journey. This allows you to know who you might need to collaborate with, so other information sources that your audience have, where they hang out. You are able to understand those things and be able to create the perfect content for them and also promote it in the right places as well. The struggles. What are the things keeping your audience up at night? What are they struggling with? Understanding this allows you to create a content that no other person will be able to to create. It would almost be to them like you have like some magic wand where you're able to predict what's going on with them. Try to understand what's their struggles, and you can find out these struggles by looking at questions that your audience asks your help team, for example. That's a good place to start. You can use SEO tools to do your keyword research to know what some of those questions that they're asking that indicate struggles. Go on forums like Quora, Reddit, those types of places allows you to find those struggles. Location and language affects how people search for things. Different locations have their own slangs, have their own culture, behaviors, ways of doing things. Try to understand the location that you're targeting, try to understand what the culture is like, what the language is, and try to create your content with that in mind. If you don't have that expertise or knowledge, it's a good idea to partner up with someone in those locations as well. And also make sure that your site is internationalized as well if you're targeting multiple countries. And there's lots of resources that teaches you how to do this. You can find that in the Moz blog as well. Accessibility, different people search for things in different ways. People have different needs. So make sure that your site is universally accessible to everyone. So make sure it's mobile friendly, make sure you don't have like annoying pop-ups everywhere. Make sure that you provide an alt tag for your images to make your content more accessible to all. And yeah, so these are the factors that are affecting the searchers. There's a lot that I probably missed, so I would love to know what you think, and also other ones that I forgot. So the last but not the least is the search engines. So in order to win for SEO, you really need to understand that the search engines are businesses as well. So in order for them to rank your site, you have to be a site that is in line with their business. For Google, if you want to understand what their business model is, there's a video on YouTube that you should watch. It's called A Trillion Searches, No Easy Answers. It's a very interesting video that shows you the behind the scenes of how they think about things, what challenges they have, and the future of where they're heading. And this will then allow you to be able to know where they might go next so that you can react accordingly. And for Google, once again, I mean, ultimately they are just trying to provide content to their searchers that are valuable, that from sites that are indexable, that provides a good experience, and of course it has to be a relevant content. They put a huge emphasis on relevant content, and that leads us to the next one, NLP. So every additional change that Google has been making over the past few years is geared towards that goal of helping people get answers to things that they search for in a natural way. So making search basically more human, and that allows them to be able to help people find the relevant content to them by using more advancements in machine learning. So in order for you to do well for SEO, you need to understand what are they doing with these updates, read the release notes, try to understand what each update means, and then try to cater your content to match that goal as well. EAT, it means expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. Google is very strict on this when it comes to sites that are in the your money or your life categories. So that's health, finance, fitness, things like that. Health, finance, finance and fitness. So make sure that your site is displaying the signals that they need for this authority. There's a lot of resources out there. I wish I could spend more time to explain this, but we have limited time. But make sure you look into this so you can follow the right guidelines for the EAT. The links, I don't need to explain this too much. Everyone that works on SEO is pretty much familiar with this. But links are basically the digital word of mouth. A lot of people are familiar with getting backlinks, but just as important to getting backlinks, you also want to make sure that you're spreading internal links as well. So make sure that the pages on your site that are getting high traffic, you are also linking to pages on your site that might not be getting as much traffic, but they are just as important to you. This is a recent update, the Core Web Vitals. So it's meant to basically build better websites in the world. A lot of people debate the effectiveness of this at this very moment. I would say you should do your best. Use tools like the Moz Performance Metrics Beta. and try to improve your site as best as you can to at least be prepared when these changes do start affecting your ranking power. Indexability, of course, make sure your site is indexable to the search engines. So the things like your robot.txt file is well set up. Make sure that there are no HTML or JavaScript errors. Make sure that you are reducing pages on your sites that have no value so that you're not taking away from that crawl budgets for the most important pages. Look at your site architecture, make sure things are set up correctly. So make sure your site very indexable. And take advantage of schemas. These helps the search engines understand your website very clearly. Having schemas doesn't mean you would always win the sub features, but at least it gives you a fighting chance. So take advantage of them, you might as well. The QDF is query deserve freshness. So for certain queries, the search engines determine that more up-to-date information are more relevant than other types of content. So they refresh them more frequently, sorry. So if you notice that some of your content are not performing quite as well, it might just be because that they are outdated. So a little quick refresh can help you take advantage of the opportunity to rank better. And last but not the least, ongoing updates. SEO is not stagnant. It's continuously dynamic. It's moving. Things are changing. All these search engines are pushing thousands of updates on a daily basis. So keep an eye on, like I said, their business model. Try to understand where they are headed, and try to be able to predict where they're going. Keep on top of the updates, and then adjust as you go. But yeah, so these are the 3 bosses of SEO, and these are all what they need. As I mentioned, I probably missed a lot of things, but the whole idea is not for this to cover everything. The idea is just get you to think of SEO from a very holistic perspective. And you might be wondering, this is a lot, where do I even start from? Well, the most important thing is your business. Try to make sure that you're doing the right thing for your business, and then make sure you do the right thing for your searchers, and then start satisfying the search engines to get results. But yeah, so that's all I have for you today. Leave your comments below. I would love to have a discussion with you and see what we can learn from each other as well. All right, see you next time.